Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's November 28th, 2025. We are in the New Testament book of John. We're got a little bit of a cold, bear with me, but we're going to read chapter 18, verse 28 to 19, verse 16. We're in Pilate's court. We're getting the trial of Jesus. We saw previously when Jesus is brought before the high priest that John knew some people in the Sanhedrin, so he was able to get inside and he brought Peter in. We get Peter's denial. We get that sham of a trial that takes place. Uh, he's tried at night, shouldn't happen. There's no 2 or 3 witnesses against Jesus, but he's condemned anyway, so that shouldn't have happened. He's physically abused, shouldn't have happened. And now he's brought before Pilate. And the Jews said, no, we got to bring him before Pilate because, Passover's coming and we don't want to violate Passover. It's like, okay, we just violated everything up to that point. So we see kind of that duplicity of the chief priest. He comes before Pilate, and we see that Pilate's trying to fish for Jesus to admit something. Pilate doesn't really like the Jews. He wants to let Jesus off. Maybe he's hoping for a bribe. But Jesus doesn't play along. Jesus continues to talk about the kingdom that's coming, that he's the spiritual leader, and nothing to do with what's going on in Jerusalem at that time against Rome. Pilate says, okay, well, I don't see anything wrong. I'm going to release him. And the Jews say, no, we want the murderer, Barabbas. We want you to crucify Jesus. And he says, why? I didn't see anything wrong with him. Crucify him anyway. And in fact, here in John, we get the key word that they say is, well, if you don't crucify him, then you're not a friend of Caesar's. And it's like, oops, that's not what you say to Pilate, because Pilate's afraid of Caesar. So he says, all right, I'll crucify him. And we want to see that's that rejection of Jesus, not just the rejection of Jesus, because the religious leaders of that day say, we have no king except Caesar. They don't even appeal to God. They appeal to man. That's why you have to crucify Jesus. Let's go ahead. We're going to read this section. John chapter 18, verse 28 to chapter 19, verse 16. Then they led Jesus from Caiaphas to the praetorium, and it was early morning. But they themselves did not go into the praetorium, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Passover. Pilate then went out to them and said, what accusations do you bring against this man? They answered and said to him, if he were not an evildoer, we would not have delivered him up to you. Then Pilate said to them, well, you take him and judge him according to your law. Therefore the Jews said to him, it is not lawful for us to put anyone to death, that the saying of Jesus might be fulfilled, which he spoke, signifying by what death he would die. Then Pilate entered the praetorium again, called Jesus, and said to him, are you the king of the Jews? Jesus answered him, are you speaking for yourself about this, or did others tell you this concerning me? Pilate answered, am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you to me. What have you done? Jesus answered, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight so that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now my kingdom is not from here. Pilate therefore said to him, are you a king then? Jesus answered, you say rightly that I am a king. For this cause I was born, and for this cause I have come into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice. Pilate said to him, what is truth? And when he had said this, he went out again to the Jews and said to them, I find no fault in him at all. But you have a custom that I should release someone to you at the Passover. Do you therefore want me to release to you the king of the Jews? And they all cried again, saying, not this man, but Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a robber. So when Pilate took Jesus and scourged him, and the soldiers twisted a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they put on him a purple robe. Then they said, hail, King of the Jews! And they struck him with their hands. Pilate then went out again and said to them, behold, I am bringing him out to you, that you may know that I find no fault in him. Then Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and Pilate said to them, behold the man! Therefore when the chief priests and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, crucify him! Crucify him! Pilate said to them, you take him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. The Jews answered him, we have a law, and according to our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God. Therefore when Pilate heard that saying, he was the more afraid, and went again into the praetorium and said to Jesus, where are you from? But Jesus gave him no answer. And Pilate said to him, "Are you not speaking to me? Do you not know that I have power to crucify you and power to release you?" Jesus answered, "You could have no power at all against me unless it had been given to you from above. Therefore the one who delivered me to you has the greater sin." From then on, Pilate sought to release him, but the Jews cried out, saying, "If you let this man go, you are not Caesar's friend. Whoever makes himself a king speaks against Caesar." When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Jesus out and sat down in the judgment seat in a place that is called the Pavement, but in Hebrew Gabbatha. Now it was the preparation day of the Passover, and about the 6th hour. And he said to the Jews, "Behold your king." But they cried out, "Away with him! Away with him! Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Shall I crucify your king?" The chief priests answered, "We have no king but Caesar." Then he delivered him to them to be crucified. Then they took Jesus and led him away. May God bless the reading of his word, and may God bless you. Bye.